All right, here's problem number 5. State officials in California are concerned about with regulating the amount of alcohol in wines produced in the state. They obtain a random sample of 45 bottles of Pinot Noir wine produced in the state and find the mean alcohol content is 9.4%, and the standard deviation is 1.2%. Calculate the 90% confidence interval for the mean alcohol content of the Pinot Noir wine produced in California. So if we go back to the formula sheet, we're happy because the formula for doing that confidence interval is right there. So you can see the X bar mean in that formula. So our confidence interval is X bar plus or minus T star times the standard deviation of the sample divided by the sample size, or in this case, 9.4 plus or minus. And now we got to get this T star value for 90% confidence interval. Now, this is unlike the Z interval where we can just read it off the table. For this, we have to do a little bit of work. We have to imagine a T distribution with how many degrees of freedom? Well, there's 45 in the sample. So the degrees of freedom is 44. Degrees of freedom is 45 minus 1, 44. And we imagine having the middle 90% of that interval accounted for. And what we recognize is that there's 5% in that tail. So we're going to use the inverse T function, which is under the distributions menu. And we're going to say, what does it take to have an area of 5% while the degrees of freedom is 44? And that's going to tell us that the T star value is 1.680. 1.680. Again, the standard deviation is 1.2%, and our sample size was 45, so the square root of 40. All right, let's get this into our calculator. 0.34 minus 1.68 times, and let's go ahead and do fraction of 1.2 divided by the square root of 45. So our lower bound is 0.9 or 9.099, and our upper bound, let's go up twice, bing, bing, hit enter, let's go second left, takes us to the far extreme, change that to a plus sign, and we get 9.701. Just to note, we could have gotten those numbers as well without showing our work, which is not advisable, but we can check our work, and this would be called a T interval on our calculator, where we say that our mean is 9.4, that our standard deviation was 1.2, and our sample size was 45, and we wanted a 90% confidence. And you can see that our numbers are right in line with those numbers as well. So 9.099 and 9.701 is our final answer there. All right, what conditions must be met? Are we told anything about the shape of the distribution for the wines? We are not. We don't know if the population data is not, we don't know what the population data distribution is, but we are happy that the sample size is at least 30. So that is a condition that works well. The second condition is about proportions, as is this one. So it's not appropriate because we're working with means, not proportions in this problem. Observations need to be independent of each other. And because our sample size is 30, we didn't have to, we don't have to make sure that the observations are normally distributed. So those two conditions are the ones that need to be met.